A-OK there, and then we'll kick off. Let's see here. All right, yeah, I'm seeing it. Nice. Let's go ahead and give it a tweet real quick here.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone. GM, welcome to another Liquidium Lunch Club. We're here with some of your usual suspects. We got Pete in the building, we got Shudu in the building, and for the first time, we have LazerErik from Tiny Vikings, Tiny Records, Open Ordinal, all that in the building.
What's up, guys?
How you doing today, brother? Oh yeah, he keeping it sturdy
Doing
over
alright,
there.
doing
Look at
alright.
those glasses, man. Those things are
Dude,
killer.
those glasses are fly.
Sheesh.
I need a pair. That's dope.
He put the tinies on the eyes. That's crazy.
You gotta keep it tiny, staying tiny even in bright sunlight. Tiny will keep you safe.
Them tiny
Tiny will
eyes
keep you
got
safe.
20/20 vision.
Tiny eyes.
It's like shouldn't there be some song? Isn't there like Tiny Dancer? There should be Tiny. I don't know, man. There's some remix there going on. Today is
guy,
the
James.
lunch club. What was that?
Nothing. I'm busting your balls.
Today is the lunch club, so I do have to do my obligatory questionnaire. Do you guys got anything going on for lunch today? You eating anything? Got any drinks on hand? What's going on today?
Nothing for me, dude.
Hell yeah, I
I
got
have.
my sparkling water going right here, and yeah, I had coffee for lunch, so I'm on to a great start.
Okay,
That's
yeah. He's amped. He's
grind
ready to
mode,
rock.
baby.
Shooter, you got anything going on?
Yeah, I got nothing. Got
Nothing.
nothing. I'm just glad that I don't see alcohol. I feel like people are changing. I'm very happy with the Liquidium Lunch Club. I feel like we've all turned a new leaf. So this is progress. We're moving.
The funny thing is, I was gonna ask you, not even a cider, Shooter.
I've turned a new leaf. I have turned.
Special,
Next week I'm gonna come in
special
here with the
occasion.
Bible.
Okay.
Next week I'm coming in with the Bible. Then I'm just gonna, I've turned a new leaf. I'm telling you.
I ain't mad at it, man. I think by next week, I think I might be a Jehovah's Witness myself at this rate. I, on the other hand, pulled a Lars, coffee for lunch. That's it. Had a little bit of beef jerky, but we keeping it lean and mean over here today. Fired up and ready to get into it. I do want to say, ask you guys, what do you feel right now about the market sentiment, what we're at? Of course, build is going to build, but I would like to have a quick note before we jump into our analytics powered by Shudu. Lars, let's hear you first. How are you feeling right now? What are you seeing?
Bitcoin is over 80,000. I joked around like a few weeks ago that let's just be happy that we can celebrate and experience Bitcoin being at 80,000 at all, because in was it November, December, it was like a day or two, or maybe half a day even, where it just teleported past 80. So yeah, no, I think even though there's like a lot of hysteria in the markets, and media is like trying to hype this up as much as possible, how quickly everything will go to zero. The fact that we haven't gone to zero yet, I think is that's a super strong sign. So yeah, patiently, not trying to rock the boat too much, but there's always fuel that can be poured on, and the more we build and the more we're visibly out there doing this thing, I think we can do our little thing as well.
I
That's
completely agree.
that's a good perspective, honestly. I feel like we often overlook just how far we've come, how far we are right now. Like you said, like only hitting 80K in like November. That's only a couple of months ago that we've been around these levels at all. So it's crazy how bearish people get, and it's like, guys, we're still well near things that were not seen last year at all. So it's crazy.
And I think, maybe interestingly as well, though, there's of course more of an industry where people actually are, we're super close to this market now. Previous cycles, I haven't been this close, it's been more of a hobby. Um, you know, since a few years, we kind of, went all in on, the Web3 and the sort of new decentralized economy and contributing to that. So of course you feel it a lot more, the whole thing is like doing startups in this new territory is like the most leveraged thing you can do. So of course you'll cry a lot, when you care about that market so much, because it's kind of part of realizing what you're building.
Couldn't agree more with that sentiment. Shudu, how you seeing it, baby?
Hey man, I've got a next segment. If I say it now, man, I have nothing to say when it's analytics time. So I'm gonna keep my cards like this, and then but I'm police.
Hey, let's go ahead and roll right into it. Let's go ahead and see the numbers.
Oh man, okay. Yeah, I'm actually just gonna search this. It's gonna be a bit rough, but I'm gonna share this just to give my sentiment on the market. It's gonna be where the screen at. Okay, there you go, and we're gonna go live. As you guys are talking about the market, at least if we maybe zoom in specifically to something like ordinals or runes, lately there's been a lot of positive momentum on the space. Simply because if any of you use Basis Thought and you come in, you look, you would see that most of the time you would see very questionable tokens like barrel of oil, Picoin, which we know they're just basically a wash. But you can see now that if you look at more of what's happening now, yes, the volume has been massively increased, but a lot of tokens are recovering, but also a lot of wash is going out because now you have more legit, Magic Init Money just finished their migration, but you have more legitimate tokens much higher on the charts, which represents a much more organic volume that's going on in the space right now. So we've gone from people just coming in and just circulating the same Bitcoin from like 6, 7 wallets where there's a lot of wash to yes, very low volume still, but it's organic, and that's why you would see that most of the tokens are just on a recovery route, which for me is bullish. I feel like this could be the start of the next thing, which I will then just maybe build up from here to something like let me just show you something here. Maybe I can find something here. To something like this, where unique users, not unique loans. We're talking about 350, 360 unique users that we're seeing week on week. And that's like peak or bottom. But you can see that it is from last week, we've started to see like a shift of momentum, which again, it just stop me if I share any chat I'm not supposed to share, right? So if I click a wrong button, just be like, yo, stop. You can look at it here also that, for example, if you look at the weekly volume, we're already sitting at 61% of the volume we did last week. And usually, if we do 15% of volume a day, then end of the week, you end up with 105%, which means it's a 5% week on week improvement. And now today is only Thursday, and end of this, they were supposed to be sitting at 60%. So we're much far ahead because our biggest market is the American market, followed by the Asian market. And the American market is still morning. It's what is it, 12 p.m., so just noon. So again, there's this shift in momentum and direction in the market. And at least that's what if you look at the defaults also here, you will see here that number of default loans, you can see there, yes, we had a peak there, we had a more local peaks here, much, much smaller. But you can see now that again, we have sort of reached this bottom in terms of number of loans that are defaulting, which is always a very, very good indicator because it just means the market is recovering. So at least that's what we see internally. And again, that's like that's it. You also see that in terms of just how confident people are willing to borrow, knowing that they won't lose their collateral. You can see here number of loans just keep going up for some like loans. Volume itself, more especially here or maybe here, somewhere here. That's the week where a lot of stuff like just sort of like moved, and then I think there was a day we did like 10 loans. So the reason I'm saying is that that's where you see that our number of loans would increase, but the actual number of volume would go down because instead of 10 loans being worth 10 Bitcoin, 10 loans are now worth 8 Bitcoin or something because there was like slight decrease, but the actual number of loans had pumped up. So again, there is this like whatever shift of momentum or sentiment that's coming back. And again, you also see it here. Man, I got so many charts. Let me look. I've got this chart here. Got a chart for you that I want to show you. You also see it here, for example, that um, for the longest time, yes, runes were dominant, and then runes reached the bottom, but they sort of like reached the peak or bottom for past couple of weeks, where from there on they can only go up. Yes, this week they're slightly lower, but again, the week hasn't ended, and their actual volume has improved. But maybe Ordinals are just doing much better because Taproot Wizard and them have recovered. But there's this shift in momentum that stuff is that, maybe I shouldn't be super bullish because gonna wake up tomorrow and everything is new. But again, there's this shift in momentum. You can also see here, Temple Wizards, bunch of lows came in. Usually you see OMB as the top one and Puppets just because they're like much, much older, much more track. Now it's not that. It's like Temple Wizards, they are recovering again. So these assets that are recovering, like Temple Wizards on 0.18. I mean, people can have personal opinions, but it's actually recovering. So we are seeing that in the space that, we're sort of like in a recovery phase, which is sort of cool to see. I mean, you can see to like April 16 did more volume than that. I mean, I could even go here. Man, I just hope I'm not gonna click the wrong button because you can see today the volume that we've done today alone is already 92% of the volume we did yesterday. Yesterday, this time we were sitting at 0.5, today we're sitting at 1.2 BTC. So there is this huge momentum shift that's coming back. And let's just hope it continues because maybe we might have reached a peak of volume, so to speak. So, yeah.
I appreciate that insight, man. LazerErik, do you have any questions or comments on this section? Sometimes our guests like to jump in and talk about these dashboards because, yeah, Shudu's really knocked it out the park with these.
No, I think this is super cool though.
Yeah.
Super cool. I definitely need to check that out. Where's the link to this? I guess, yeah, is that on your Liquidium X profile, or where can I dig into this?
This
Just
is
search
the we
game, I
have
guess.
one on Dune, and if you want to look
Yeah.
at the default stuff, you click there. The results. The reason we put a default stuff on a separate page is because we cannot upset the current table.
Yeah.
So we just made something live that anyone can go and have a look at. Again, look at today. Today we haven't had a single loan default. Again, this week we're at 27 out of, if you combine these two, out of what 215, we have 315 or something loans default. Again, that's like 315, you only have 27 this week. It's super impressive what's been going on. So I feel like, there's like a shift from momentum. So that's cool. Oh wait, I wasn't sharing my screen. Oh yeah, I am sharing. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah. I mean, maybe like, is there any like more fine granularity on the instant loan? I saw that the instant loan was just like a spike up because it's a pretty new thing. But do you guys see any like developments like in the shorter time frame on how that's developing, or?
People love instant loans. So the only thing that we see, and this has been a trend, is that when people are looking for really, really big loans, they go for manual loans. And that's to say borrowers go to instant loans and then they just don't find like the size of the amount that they're looking for because we are not yet stitching the instant loans ones. I think Pete might talk on those, but we've got something cooking soon. So because of that, you just go like, oh, flip, whatever amount I want is not here. I'd rather go for manual. But on a day-to-day, you will see that the number of instant loans actually outperform the manual loans. But again, if someone wants 0.2 BTC and they want to collateralize their dog, they're more likely to find that on the manual loan, so they just go there and they hit it. And that's been like sort of the difference that we've been seeing. I can, is it? Yeah,
Yes.
that's instant loan. You can see daily volume here. You can see daily loans here. I don't have a weekly one, but again, I can share the weekly chart here. This is strictly instant
Yeah.
loans. So you will see here,
Okay, yeah.
it's just loans are just going up. This on week on week. This is daily. Or this daily volume, this weekly volume, this is daily number of loans. This is daily number of loans. What am I saying? Daily number of loans, weekly volume, number of loans. So you will see here, daily on a day-to-day, loans are up there. Weekly, loans are up there. Volume doesn't follow that. Again, this is because of flow and also because of big loans are going more towards if I go here, big loans are going more towards manual loans, which is the the legacy stuff. But generally, people are taking instant loans. Just if we also, again, this is also by design, I must say, because right now we currently limit or cap the maximum amount that you can put on instant loans. I think, Pete, you might have a word there. So once we remove that cap, you also then begin to see this big loans on instant loans.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing too we talked about internally is that currently instant loans is only for runes. So maybe some lenders are, they don't want to put too much, into the instant loan vaults because they also want to lend for ordinals. But once we have instant loans for ordinals, it should probably keep growing a lot more and take even more of the volume. But I think right now it's sitting at like a 50% dominance for just the runes alone. Shudu, is that correct, or
Yes,
misremembering
between
something?
50 and 60, between 50 and 60%. Yes,
Okay.
on a day-to-day. So already more loans are coming from instant. It's just like you said, huge chunk of liquidity is still chilling on manual. So yeah. So yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much. I want to stop sharing my screen now.
Thanks,
That
man.
is my market
Cool.
insight, James.
Nice
Thank
work.
you.
Wow, we appreciate that. That's like,
Thank you, Shudu.
it's a highlight, bro. Okay. So moving from our market sentiment, took a look at the restream. We don't have any questions right now. Everything is rolling smooth. Shout out to everybody who is tuned in on X right now. We got about 215 people watching in right now, having lunch with us. So thank you guys for taking time out of your day to have lunch with us. Feel free to share this out so the homies can see what LazerErik has cooking. And with that being said, feel free to take the floor and kick us off with what you have on the agenda here today, boss. I don't want to say too much.
Yeah. I think we'll, do a bit of an update on what's latest with Tiny Vikings. There's some new stuff that has been dropping over the last couple of weeks now. Both in, preparing for the much anticipated stage 2 of Tiny Vikings, and just basically preparing a lot of the tech for that. Open Ordinal has been given a few updates. Stage 2 of Tiny Vikings will run on what's kind of now an experimental version of the Open Ordinal API. So if someone's digging through the public docs of trying to find what's there, it's sadly not there yet. But we've done a few new updates on the Open Ordinal stack as well, some of the services. So we're going to touch on that, and then I think we're going to top it off with Tiny Records.
Ooh, yes, sir. I love this agenda.
So we have some fun stuff coming up there, which you're kind of part of as well, and the much anticipated Vegas event in May. So.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Indeed.
Whenever you're.
Yeah, and so I think if you look at Tiny Vikings,
you want to.
If you've looked at the, do you want me to share my screen? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do that. Let me do that. So
see what you got.
Let's
see. I've like drip fed them some of the information we've talked about recently with some of the tooling you've been working on. But yeah, I don't know how much we want to go in depth here, but I'm excited, man. There's some really cool stuff you're working on, man, with many hats, many tools coming for people who want to build a few different things. I'll let you talk about that though.
Yeah. No, so I think, if you've been to the Tiny Viking site before, this is, kind of familiar. But yeah, stage 2 starting. So this happened a week or 2 ago. Together with that, preparing a few things. So if you look at the Tiny Vikings, you click the inscription, you have different compositions. You might know this from before. We did a few updates now in terms of what's going to happen with them. To begin with, all the way from the beginning, you can easily export, the head, the full body, the full PFP, in animations and so on. Mm-hmm. But what we've added now is basically, and this is something that we announced recently. Let me see if I can get that up here as well. So we basically announced a game a game challenge, a tiny game challenge. So a lot of people have been speculating, will we build a game? When is that game coming? Please give us a game. We want to see these like tiny suckers in games. And from the beginning, we wanted to make the Tiny Vikings in a way that they can go anywhere. So we've seen thousands of memes being made easily by just downloading the head without needing to crop, make them download them in animations and GIFs, put them into different sceneries. People have been going wild with that, also with the 3D. But yeah, something that we added now on the 2D side is what's called a sprite export, so that you can get this figure out in all the different sort of variations he needs to be able to very quickly make a game. Let me see if I can find that here. So this here is, typically what a sprite looks like. So this is what 2D game developers use to build, game character animations. So here you have him without his legs. Here he's jumping, and then he's just stale, and then left and right foot up and down on the last ones. If you have these, you can make a lot of different animation combinations like running, jumping, walking, crouching, falling, left and right. That's just like flipping it in code. So let's see if I can find the announcement we made here. So what we're going to do now is basically, and even just since we dropped Tiny Vikings, like advancements in AI has gone like fucking crazy. In like 10 minutes now, you can build, easy arcade games that a lot of people know from, before. And that's kind of also why it's easy to build them in these AI tools. So you can see here, like, this is our tiny hobo. He's like flying through this tiny Flappy Viking game.
This is dope.
No, this is fucking dope. This is.
Yeah, these are things that, with this new sprite export from the Ordinals, anyone can, like, in a matter of, like, I don't know, maybe an hour if you have never done it before, with some people at least, or just ask the ChatGPT or Grok how to run it. But like, these are simple things. It's just web, HTML, JavaScript. We then call the Open Ordinal API, which is implemented into the architecture of the Tiny Viking to then, as you can see here, get the different frames of this character. You can see his like legs are like pushing him up whenever I'm jumping with him. Or you could do things like this where you have more like a infinite runner game. I see I have some issues with the parallax or the background here, but these are just things that I threw together really quickly. But I made this one. This one also has audio effects. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but
Bruh.
did the audio come through?
Elizabeth Warren.
Bruh. Okay. Bruh.
Yeah, I didn't spend any time on the background graphics here, as you can see, but these are things that are suddenly very easy. I think I should have a bit harder gravity in on this as well.
Okay.
These are cool. So you're trying to put these out publicly so people can play them? Is that kind of the plan, or?
Yeah, so the plan now is actually to basically bring on some of our very creative holders and basically have a session. We're going to do that most likely next week, where we just meet up on a call like this and just share the screen and like make a few quick games. And people have a lot of ideas for what they want to build. If they want to build someone wanted to build like a
oof.
Yeah, so now there's we'll have a screen like that. We'll build games together basically. So yeah, let me just show you this here. So this is one of the announcements we just recently did, where again, these inscriptions now generate on-demand sprite files, and that through this open Ordinal API that's on chain. So that basically means that anyone can build a game that's wallet aware. So you can like either it can be wallet aware, you can just paste in an inscription ID, and then there's so many ideas about what people want to build. I think some pretty good ones actually down here. Like this guy, Dr. Funk, he had like Endless Wave, Road to Valhalla, Roguelite. And then I'm like, this is one of my favorites, Tiny Viking Restaurant Simulator. These like small like mini games where you like need to upgrade the hamburger machine, and like the ice machine breaks, and then you need to like cater to all these like mini small things that happens all the time, like serving customers and stuff. That'd be pretty funny. It's a bit more to build though than just like simple arcade stuff. Like you can have like a Pac-Man game.
So
It's like walking around
I need a tiny Viking Minecraft. That's what I need.
yo,
there you go. Yeah.
that would be sick. Shudu's
Now
joining the
we
call. Is that the mempool sound too? That's hilarious.
And it tripped me out too. I was like, I don't think I have a
Look.
transaction open.
I have such a love-hate relationship with that sound, bro, because I'll be like, I'll send something, I'll leave it open, I'll go do something else, forget about it, and it'll just scare me out of nowhere.
yeah.
That's
Or
cool.
when you're
That's
like
cool, man.
when you have like an idle tab inspecting a wallet on mempool, and then suddenly the cash register kicks in, and you're like, "Who the fuck is trading me?" What's going on?
Yup.
Yeah, no. So these are things we'll bring on the community. The goal is basically to that's kind of what we want to do with Open Ordinal as well. We want to make it easier to build on Bitcoin. The goal of Open Ordinal is to make it easier to build with Ordinals for the next generation internet on Bitcoin. We firmly believe that Bitcoin is the new app store. I think we've seen a few sort of proof points of that already with some of the games that have been launched, even the collectibles. I tend to kind of compare the stage of the app store we're in now in Bitcoin terms with the early days of mobile when we bought ringtones, wallpapers on these like monochromatic screens, and throughout a lot of iterations and cycles, we had smartphones before Apple launched theirs, but the killer combo with Apple was that they actually figured out that they needed to make an app store now that they had sufficiently adopted handsets, and then allow anyone to publish apps without the carriers deciding who can be preloaded or loaded onto the devices. So I think that's kind of, again, and now again, there's so many advancements in AI. You can quickly make these games I showed off now, and maybe a few tries even if you if you write a few lines in your prompt and just show it the documentation that we'll publish on the API, this is going to be super easy.
Do you quickly want to show
Yeah,
the
we
Open Ordinal site and the kind of provision it gives? There we go. Yeah, that's this site.
Indeed. So what we're talking about here is Open Ordinal. When we started and we dropped the Tiny Vikings, we did stuff we cared about metadata because we want them to be easy to be used other places, the example that we saw now. We have a bunch of other code. The API is what's very much in play here now, where you from the inside of this API can define different variants. Like you can say here, I have an image variant, or I have a composition variant, or in the case that we looked at now, it would be a sprite. And then from the outside, you can then go and call that ordinal and ask it to give you the different variants that it has. And then it will, basically tell you back that, it has these and those variants. And then you, as a developer, then can use that. It can be an audio tune that follows your specific item in the collection, or it can be, as we saw here, an animated GIF, or it can be, the sprite asset or the 3D file. So yeah, all of these things are things that we built one-offs, or a lot of these things are things that we built as one-offs to get the sort of complexity of Tiny Vikings to work on the Ordinal stack itself, to be able to be all these different compositions, 2D, 3D animations, all of this, make sure that we don't, of course, upload every single model, so that, recursion is, of course, heavily used here. So yeah, we're probably going to use that, let's call it unofficial experimental build of the Open Ordinal API when we do this. But yeah, we're going to publish the documentation, of course. And if anyone wants to, try and figure out what's the new in it or map it out, we also have this new thing here that's called an Open Ordinal probe. This is basically, a tool to reverse engineer any ordinal in, a few seconds. So if you want to go and, instead of clicking through all the recursive calls in ordinals.com and follow the code and inspect the code in all of them, you can basically go and put in the inscription ID on the site, and then our probe will then go and unpack the whole thing. So you'll see, of course, stuff like the metadata, but then also the actual code of each Tiny Viking in this case. And then we also have an AI now that in real time analyzes all the code to actually just tell you what this code is doing. So this is something that Espen, our CTO, added, I think, over the last couple of weeks. We launched it, I think, last week. So yeah, if you want to check out that, you can go to Open Ordinal on X, and you can basically just see a quick intro on this probe with now AI inside. Other cool things we have here is like the stitcher. I'm sorry, go on.
No, pretty sick. I'm gonna be diving into this. But go ahead. I was gonna ask a question, but you feel free to keep going first.
Yeah, no, go. Just cut me off whenever you want, man. We can do a quick stop on the API if you want to.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah, we have a few guides in here, like how you would, for instance, like structure a collection, which has, you know, advanced stuff like, you know, you have different kind of code, you have different kind of libraries. How do you think about, you know, constructing this in a meaningful architecture? Yeah, there's a lot of resources here. I know, you know, people just tend to like, yeah, if it runs in ordinals.com on your reg test, it's gonna work on live. But I definitely recommend like have a look at like things like the metadata here, because things like, you know, when you start putting music on chain, unless you have stuff like, you know, who's the artist in this inscription, then it's gonna be hard to, you know, credit you further down the line. And that's, you know, when we launched Tiny Vikings as well, they were always supposed to have music with them because we want people to be able to, you know, bring the tiny universe into their own sort of renditions, and then of course music, images, animations. So that's kind of where the Tiny Vikings original soundtrack album comes from, where again we looked at, okay, there's some music on chain. I think there's like maybe 200-300 files that are big enough to be meaningful audio tracks. So we figured, okay, first of all, how would we build a music player on Bitcoin, because there weren't really anyone. And then how would we structure, you know, all of this so it became very tiny, so it had a tiny footprint on chain, but also still, you know, modular, so that the player that we see here can be used by anyone just by simply delegating a release inscription content to this player inscription. And then you would, you know, do the same with the artist and the tracks in all of these layers, so that all of these tracks here can of course also be easily included in some other release, like what we did here with Best of Bitcoin. So Best of Bitcoin is basically all the music that we found on chain. I said, like we kind of said that, hey, they need to be at least 200, or maybe it's 150 kilobytes we set the limit on. But as you can see here, there's a lot of non-matched songs, but we ran all of them that we found through, like, you know, matching APIs. We found a lot of them. We put them all onto, you know, this Best of Bitcoin here now. So now anyone can at least have a place to, yeah, to at least find the music and listen to it, and like make liked songs, playlists. Yeah, this is just local at the moment though, because it's not really reinscribing your.
This is cool.
This is one of the first songs.
Yeah, I think that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing with
talking about stitching real quick too.
Indeed, yeah. So I don't know if you noticed, but like let's see, for instance, here you can see like people have uploaded a track in multiple parts, because, you know, if you have a larger transaction than 400 kilobytes, it's not going to be accepted by the public mempool. So your transaction, if it's larger than 400 kilobytes, it's not going to be, you know, slid into this public queue here. Then you need to go to like you know, Mara with like slipstreaming or other things like that, where you would need to then broadcast it. You would put it in here, then it would be a higher fee rate because that's their business model. And then next time they mine a block, they slid it in for you. So that's where all these 4meggers come from. Various kind of miners offering, you know, that kind of service. But yeah, so what we did in the Tiny Records player now is that in the decoder, we, you know, basically in the release we made, we marked these so that the decoder knows that, hey, play all of these like seamlessly as if they were one. Yeah, that's a good thing that this artist, C'est Moi, actually inscribed it with no gaps in the end, so that there's no like custom sort of case made for this. It's just like, if it's like that and has the same name, then we're going to play it, and yeah. But that's something that we, you know, we want to kind of, you know, find solution to these things, and not by, because, you know, one thing is the fee rate that you're going to pay, but like, hey, there's actually a bit of a reading to do here to see if you really accept these terms of services. It's not really decentralized. So what we did was like think about this. Okay, you can sort of do this manually. I've seen people like upload like larger, video files and do like manual stitching where you upload, each part and then stitch it back together. We thought that this is such a, this is going to be such a common scenario. So unless someone makes like, a general solution for it, it's going to still be gated, or either gated by the binders to accept this block in the content that you have within it. And more content is getting very, very illegal in some places of the world. So yeah, depending on where these binders are, those terms of services might not work for your use case even. So yeah, we decided to just make a very simple binary splitter and stitcher. So it's basically a module that you use locally on your machine to then basically split a file. So in this case, you would split the video file. You could set the max size to be a specific size. There's a bit of overhead, so in experiments that we have done, we've used like 385 here as a sort of common max size. What it would do then, it would output like all these binary files. These can be whatever, like it can be PDF, it can be MP3, OGG, it can be, CAD files, anything. Like it just splits it, and then on chain, we then have a stitcher that lives on chain as a small JavaScript module that then you communicate with. Let me see if I can find a good example on this. Where basically it just stitches back the files together, and then yeah, you can use it as if it were one file. So I'll just play this, or a bit of it. Let's see.
Let's dive in and have a look at the documentation. Note, this documentation, we open a WebM file for a tiny hobo story, which we are preparing to inscribe as part of the Tiny Vikings community inscription sponsorship. After we have compressed the file with acceptable video and audio quality, the file is 2.4 megabytes. If we were to inscribe this file without Open Ordinal Stitch, we would have either paid a miner directly to add our non-standard transaction to their next block, accepted their terms and pricing for this service, or we could have made a custom implementation to play parts of the video, kind of like what Open Ordinal Stitch does out of the box as a generic solution for all files. So with Open Ordinal Stitch, we can do the following. We first run Open Ordinal Stitch -h run 0.7. Now we see the parts are being inscribed on my local Bitcoin and ORDreg test. Here we see the final video, stitched back together by the on-chain OO stitch library we know from earlier. Also seen here used in the HTML viewer for the tiny.
Yeah, so this is kind of, the part on chain, because now, we have all the files in the parts. So we have all these like parts now are inscribed. And then this video that we're actually seeing here now, this is rendered through this HTML here. So this index HTML is basically, again, referring to this Open Ordinal Stitch code that resides on Ordinal. So you basically, through the content endpoint, you request this script here, and then we request that, hey, stitch all of these data, or stitch all the parts on this specific set. This is a, that set number is just because it's on a local test in this case. And then, yeah, we specify the content type we want, and then, yeah, we just set that data on the video player.
The tiny hobo story video.
That's just, yeah, full screen video player on that HTML.
Limit and the 4 megabyte block size limit. What large files?
So you can, in theory, like inscribe any size file. If it's 10 megabytes, if it's 100 megabytes, then it just comes down to like, do you have a high enough feed rate to like block out everyone else doing any inscriptions at that point? To then, if you fill a full day, that's about 0.5 gigabyte. So I guess that's the kind of limit and bandwidth of what you can store on Bitcoin. Yeah, I think that's yeah, we're working on a few new things here. I think this is gonna be fucking cool. Like, we are very much like making, like, our mission here is to make this like available, usable, and like easy to access for as many people as possible. So I think that's really what, if we want this like Bitcoin app store to really flourish, like we need to make the tools and services so that anyone, like, even like a, I don't know, 8-year-old, they can pick up like Rock and like, hey, I want this kind of game, and like, yes, someone needs to tell him that, hey, or maybe, yeah, educate Grok or ChatGPT that, hey, Open Ordinal is where you go, and then, paste your code and seed run and deploy it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff we're doing in the background here, but yeah, big update to Probe, which is kind of if you're just curious to learn how Ordinals work, what's the inner workings, like what are all of these, secrets of of the inner workings of magic technology. How does it actually work? This is a good place to go. We also have something new coming up here very soon, actually, which is going to be, I think, even more useful and more actionable for any collector, any trader in the ordinal space. And that's, of course, going to be Tiny Vikings gated. So good thing, though, Nads. Yeah. I think there's about 800 listed, so we at least have 800 more seats to come and try out that new toy we're going to launch very soon.
Do you want to show the simulator yet or no?
I don't think so yet,
Okay.
but I'll show you something else though, which is interesting.
That one has
Alpha.
hype. It has hype.
So yeah, this here just occurred on the Tiny website some days ago. So there's a countdown happening now. We don't know towards yet, or to what yet, but I think it's probably interesting as we're kind of warming up now with these things. These are like warm-ups to stage 2. And yeah, we're gonna, just a note on this like game challenge again, we're gonna inscribe the best games. So we're gonna actually make like a tiny arcade which is inscribed on Bitcoin, where you can get your game in. I did talk to Satoshi about getting this tiny arcade into the Bitcoin OS. I know he has some cool upcoming devices as well. So yeah, no, I think this is going to be super fun.
What about the BitBoy? Will be able to have a little tiny arcade collection on there?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, no, we the BitBoy, and I know the Tiny Viking, even on our cruise in Amsterdam, he was really keen on entering that BitBoy. So I think definitely we should get that going.
I know, I don't need to be a commercial, but I do use mine a lot to play Pokemon, so I definitely would play it on there.
Yeah, there you go.
Shudu.
Yeah, and I think with Tiny Records, like,
I was gonna ask Shudu what he thought about this, because Shudu's a very hands-on kind of a guy and likes to play around with a lot of different tools. And I've told him a good handful about what you've been doing, and now to see the visual, what do you think, Shudu?
Nah, Jim, you didn't tell me enough, James. I feel like if people keep cooking, man, they're gonna ban the kitchen at this point. You need to stop, like, take a break. This is very dope. I really like this. This is like fucking dope. I love it. Yes. Like, I feel like, especially the probing part, I feel like if there's a new collection that, because like, literally when you're speaking, what I did was like, I always wondered how, I mean, I know Pizza Ninjas have like a lot of cases stuff going, but I wonder how they made them. So this speaking, I went and I looked at the ninjas, and I was like, oh my word. So like the stuff that you built is very dope. Like, this is, yeah, next level shit. This is dope, man. Fuck.
Oh, I think
Yeah, it was
Lars,
up there, the orange one.
Muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, there's definitely some alpha to gain by digging into the code, like a lot of these like hidden next steps and like what's supposed to happen when, the assets evolve and stuff. Like all of that is for the most part in the code. So I know there's a lot of people who have been trying to figure out like what trait their Satoshis would be, but as these tools evolve, the developers also need to evolve in terms of how good they hide the shit, because they don't want anyone to find it immediately. Just seeing if we can find like a lunatic or something. I think they're supposed to evolve, right?
Yeah, I think so from what I heard. Pete, did you have any
the countdown is a block countdown, right?
Sorry,
what did you say, Shudu?
I think Shudu asked if that countdown is a block countdown.
Correct.
Nice. I wanted to ask your background before Tiny Vikings, and then also maybe if you can talk about how Tiny Vikings began.
Yeah. No, definitely. So kind of the reason, I guess, why we went into Web3 and sort of all in on this, new decentralized world is me and my team, we've been building, multiple products before in, I guess, the Web2 era. all the way from like, developer tools, video stacks, graphic stacks. A lot of that business was solely based on like, we had a small team, maybe like 10, 15 people. We traveled the world, met with like handset manufacturers, broadcasters, app builders to basically license out a video and graphics stack. We kind of all grew up in like a creative computer scene where we were like very close to like the actual earliest versions of what made the iPhone the kind of power device it is in terms of the Mali GPU. So we've seen kind of the insides of like low-level video coding, real-time graphics. We use that experience to basically, build and license video tech to these companies around the world. But as they kind of locked down the world with the COVID shit, we were like, okay, what do we do now? We can't even travel anywhere. And when you sell these kinds of like key components to like, let's say a company as big as Netflix or a handset manufacturer that has shipping millions of devices, you need to build a trust with the people that you're supposed to run that part of the software for. So we actually had to go out there, we had to sit down with them, implement, show them that our stack works, make them comfortable, making a bet on a small team from the Nordics. So as that kind of failed in terms of like being able to like go out and meet customers, like, it was a meaningful business, but it wasn't like we hadn't conquered the world yet. But we had kind of also played with, anything from like early day Bitcoin CPU mining to like early days ETH, Solana, ICP, but as a hobby, but also, trying to build on these different things, validate these different chains. That was fun, but we kind of saw it as a hobby. We had our own Web2 business going. But then I think around the time like the CryptoKitties came out, it was kind of clear to me that there is a new primitive here, and that new primitive is digital private property that is fully, uncensorable. It's like unconfiscatable, and that really, spoke to me. And I guess the people around me and my team, and still on the core team now. So we figured, okay, let's see if we can use that experience that we have from creating, anything from like developer experience to real-time graphics to like high fidelity games, game engines, and bring that into this new sort of decentralized economy. So we played a lot around with like ETH, layer 1, layer 2, Solana, ICP, Nervos, you name it. Like, and every time we kind of like jumped around on like some of these, I guess, to just test the capabilities, it was always like you need to still create another database. The ownership, like the deed, is on chain. Like he has the keys to like who owns what, and like that record is on chain, but usually always the data is somewhere else. And that made it just like a bit I guess sort of defeating the purpose of it being decentralized when still you needed just another database that you needed to pay for as well. So I think that's kind of, we've always been sort of around the sort of, I guess, sort of creative experiences, like interactive creative experiences, audio, visual, graphics, video. So for us, it was kind of, that's kind of what we wanted to test with these different things. Like, how can we bring some cool, fun experiences on chain and package them, of course, into some kind of common format that this, the audience and the participants in this new experiment know, and that's kind of, a collectible. So we figured, okay, let's see if we can, make a fun collectible that can, help us express some of these things that we want to achieve on chain. And I think that's kind of, we always thought of Tiny Vikings as well as that experimental playground. We wanted to get it into a lot of people's hands, and that's kind of also why we ended up doing an airdrop. Is okay, let's see if we can target at least some of the more meaningful participants in this community now, and see if they will be entertained by what we put in their wallet. So that was I think that's kind of how it came to be. We worked on Tiny Vikings even before Ordinals was a thing. Like even before Casey wrote the Ordinals protocol for Bitcoin, Tiny Vikings was around. We never launched it anywhere because I said, why did we fuck with ICP at all? It's like, it was actually a good idea back in the day. Like back in the day, ICP was, their mission was to build an on-chain data warehouse like AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. It was just too big of a thing to take on, I think, to do all of those things that was needed to do it at once. But that's kind of, again, when Ordinals came along, I was like, okay, it's obvious that this actually, it has some adoption, it has some traction, it does work, and it's a one-time payment. Yes, it's, depending on how you look at it, it can be expensive to inscribe stuff, but again, it's a one-time thing. This is a world computer. So I think, yeah, it's we're only in the very, very early beginning. I think the developer stack needs to be like very dramatically upgraded. There's a lot of people working on this, not enough, of course. I think just recruitment to the scene is super important. I think removing some of the barriers to entry, both on what you need of hardware, what you need of like setup, just managing the stack now just to deploy stuff is kind of a lot. And hats off to everyone that's been helping artists and creators get their content on chain with simple self-serve solutions. But I still think, and I damn hope that we still have that Apple App Store moment ahead of us, because I really think, yeah, it's just like there's no AML, there's no KYC, there's no one like, hey, update the terms of service, like, and the distribution is greater than Apple phones because the distribution is every single device in the world that can open a browser. So I think that's the kind of, that's our North Star, and that's along the way we'll have a lot of fun with the Tiny Vikings. We'll make sure that the supporters along the way have fun as well, get access to these cool tools before anyone else, get to learn how to use them, and yeah.
That's a perfect rundown. Tiny Vikings are
Oh,
the
man.
alpha. I know we're kind of coming up on time, and I'm not going to rush us through it, but I do want to hit the points that you had left on our notes here, and then we can take, questions at the end. But maybe you want to touch on the contest that Tiny Records did with music submissions and the announcement you have there, as well as what you got going on with the Satoshi initiative.
Maybe not the last one, but
Alpha.
the Tiny Records one. So Tiny Records is basically, so we want like more people to put their music on Bitcoin. So we've been cooking with James and Patrick and the guys in Bitcoin Starship for a while now. So, and we figured it's fucking hard to just inscribe your music on Bitcoin is one thing, but then get it presented is even harder. Like finding it, like packaging it. So what we figured is like, okay, let's help some more people get their music on Bitcoin. And to a lot of people, it's like, this is an experiment. I think it's for everyone, but I think also it's kind of an expensive experiment if you want to inscribe like 2 megabytes or in that range on chain. So we figured let's do a sponsorship. Let's help some up and coming artists to actually get their music inscribed on Bitcoin. So we've announced, I think it's a few months ago now, that hey, we'll do a sponsorship. We'll actually pay for some musicians' inscriptions on Bitcoin. So I think we have about 50 entries so far, 50 artists. So that's pretty cool. And we're gonna announce the judges. I think we'll announce them right here now. So the judges are gonna be James. You're true and the one and only James.
Yes.
Posted, big Bitcoin musician, OG. We're gonna invite Jennifer Cheng Lo, the first pianist on Bitcoin, big OG in the whole space, Bitcoin as well. And we're gonna bring on our own beloved Fergie, community lead in Tiny Vikings, which is, if you haven't noticed on our Tiny Spaces, he's actually a professional radio host and DJ. So we have a good crew there that will also help get these artists out and about while we do the official announcement of the finalists next week on Twitter. So yeah, go check out Tiny Records on X. You'll be maybe we'll accept a few like very, very late entries as well. So if you can find let's see, in here on Tiny Records. There is a post here somewhere where you can find a form to sign up, and then we'll be this happy when we're in Vegas to do the premiere.
Hell yeah!
So at the Tyson House over at Ordinals Bolt and Trio, we're gonna basically do the premiere on these inscriptions from the artists that we sponsor, and something special we've got cooked up with the Starship team.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, don't miss that.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be a pretty dope moment, and on top of that, We're gonna also perform at the Mike Tyson House in Vegas, so it's gonna be a tiny takeover. It's gonna be fucking
Hell
dope.
yeah. And there's going to be a tiny casino there. So I think that's something, some help as well. So if you want to practice your card counting game or your wrist movement to get the dice to land exactly how you want, there will be a good opportunity to get some free play
Don't catch me there.
and even get some good, some decent prizes.
I was gonna say, Pete. I was gonna say, I'm gonna see you over there.
I'll be there the whole time, all night, taking all my money.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Staying till I win.
I'll be on my Hunter S. Thompson sunglasses on all night. You guys see those bats over there?
It's gonna be a good time.
Oh, that's
sounds
gonna be fun.
exciting.
I'm stoked. So if you guys heard, if you're into music, if you make music, even for fun, whatever it may be, any type of music, jump on over to Tiny Records, find that link on X, and submit your music today, because we are going to be, well, basically it's closed now. You heard Lars. I'm just taking him up on his word. He said we might take late submissions, so go ahead and find that now, or as close as you can.
We might. So that's true. So you have to find the form before I do. Like I'm scrolling like a motherfucker now to find that form to close it. So yeah, I guess you still have some time to find it.
There you go. You heard it here. Pete, no more being lackadaisical, bro.
Hell
You
yeah.
gotta submit that track.
I'm sitting on that till the day I die. Don't.
You're supposed to get up on one of these one day, man. You gotta have a feature. You gotta unretire, bro.
Yeah.
When was the last
That would
time
be
you did
fire.
a track? Like 10 years ago?
Dude, never. Never.
Okay, freestyle. 'Cause I know you've done those. I can confirm that.
Yeah. We had a few freestyles together already. Those are good.
We gotta put
Those are good.
We gotta put the Liquidium CTO on a track. That, bro, we're marketing the hell out of
Hell
it.
yeah.
We gotta get Jay on it too, because Jay used to sing opera. So between you two, we could do
Hell
something
yeah.
funny.
His opera's crazy. Yeah. Something good.
Bro, making the band Liquidium edition. I'll be P Diddy. No.
We're pivoting to a band. We got baby oil and all that you need.
I need you to take a picture with a midget holding these balloons. That Dave Chappelle skit was way too fucking funny. Nah, yeah.
You guys are crazy.
Vegas is gonna be
Very.
Tiny takeover, Tiny Records. Make sure you find that form before Lars does for your chance at getting your music inscribed on Bitcoin. And now we are,
Hell yeah.
coming up on the end of the show here. So I would love to take any final questions that we may have. I'll take a look on Restream. Pete, do you have any final questions or any final words you have here before we pass the torch over to our man Lars here?
Nothing from me. Everything was answered. Seems like there's a lot cooking, so excited to see more. Keeping a close eye on everything. I can't wait to see you in Vegas.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna save a secret stash of starting chips for you, Pete. So you're.
I need him, dude. I need him.
Let's fucking go. I think so. Yeah, we're no more questions. Everything has been answered. We have 412 people checking in with us on Twitter. Thank you all for being here. Lars, do you have any final words, any alpha to look forward to other than what you put out, or you want to hit any key points real quick to leave them with before we head out?
No, I think we covered a lot today, and yeah, there's a lot, and anyone feel free to reach out on X or in our Discord. We're happy to get anyone set up with stuff if they want to experiment, run people through what the different parts are. We do this every day. Like there's people, we did like a guide on how to do like top parent artist inscription just recently. We're using the open ordinal metadata, so we tend to try and just share in between cooking all of these things up, just at least like document some of it, just put it out. So if you want to just follow up on Ordinal, that's a good place on X, at least where we dump all the new stuff coming out there. If you want to know it first, of course, and if you want to have access to it first, and some of these tools will probably be, at least to begin with, exclusively for Tiny Viking holders. Then of course, the Discord is a good place to find resources and direct access to me and the team to get help.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Tiny Vikings related.
Nah, NFA, I mean, right now is the best time to buy a Tiny Viking if you're a builder, creative, and anything in between that wants to play around with some of these tools or have access to them. I mean, general market sentiment. So this would be a great time to go ahead and pick you up a couple of them bad boys and come on and join the squad.
Hell yeah. And just look out for that announcement from the Tiny Vikings account. Over the next couple of days, this weekend, in terms of when we're going to hold that game jam. Join that. Even if you don't want to build a game, just, interesting to see, if you're interested to see how it works, you can just, join the fun and see if you want to, maybe you want to build a game when you see how easy it is and how fun it is.
Yeah, actually, this is something I had brought up to Pete maybe a few weeks ago about like how easy it was to throw a game together with this stuff, and I think it would be really funny if we did a little quid game even too. What do you think about that, Pete?
Really?
Dude, that would be sick. I love Quid, bro. He's so dope.
Bro,
he's the perfect size for the tinies as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we do something like
That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be dope.
Definitely love what you put together for us, and I've had the pleasure of seeing that tool suite be built out in real time on that page, and I swear you don't sleep, bro. Like every time I see you, it's like more is unlocked on your roadmap in your chart. We appreciate the time you're putting in and the effort with the meticulousness of the tools you're providing us here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, big kudos to the team, of course. Like, this is a big team effort, and they're all cooking all day long for us and the whole Bitcoin community to advance on this. So yeah, really happy to be here, guys. And yeah, thanks for having us on. And big shout out to the Tiny team and the Tiny fam and everyone building and doing experiments on Bitcoin. That's the only way forward. So
100%.
Stay tiny and build new internet on Bitcoin.
Stay tiny and build the internet on
Here's
Bitcoin.
to that.
Yes, sir.
Stay
Love
tiny.
that. And we'll have to have you back, in sometime soon and get some updates from you, maybe post Vegas.
Hell yeah. Maybe even before Vegas. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening going forward now. So yeah, get your tiny shutters ready. Maybe I'll bring one of these pairs to you, James and Pete, in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, most definitely do. I wish I had my little tinies on this desk right now, because then I would flex them. But they're in the other room.
Yeah, I'll show you one.
Yeah, there we
one
go.
of my yellows. So.
Yes.
I love those things. All right, much love, fellas. I'll catch you on the flip side, and we'll check in again soon. Thank you all for watching and spending time with us this past hour, and we'll see you next week.